All right, good evening for those of you that are on Zoom. It looks like we have a few folks. We are just giving a few more minutes here in the council chambers and then we'll get started with our presentation. So I would say, yeah, go to that. I'd say we're gonna get started.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna use a microphone, even though there's only a few of us here in the council chambers, because then they can hear online. And also we are recording this. So if there are neighbors that couldn't make it this evening, or you want to share information with your neighbors, we will have this available online. And as we collect your emails, we will also send, we'll send you a link. So you can just easily distribute it to your neighbors. And so we are trying to make this very easy to help share the information this evening. We are here specifically to talk about Keiser Park expansion. We are at the very early stages of a master planning process to expand the park in its current capacity, including new lands that have recently been acquired by the town. Next slide, Dina. So just a little bit about what we're gonna share with you this evening. I'll share with you our team, and we'll talk a little bit more about the project. We've got some maps for you so we can really point out areas that we're specifically speaking about. The town has done some high-level outreach, and we're going to share with you this evening some of the outcome of that outreach and some of the summary feedback that we've received townwide. But really specifically this evening is to talk about with our new neighbors, as we mentioned in the postcard, really looking at the neighbors that are at the end, that are on Spencer Street, Wall Street, Ginny, and Duncan. As you may know, and we'll share with you, the town has recently acquired those lots at the end of those streets with the intention of expanding Keiser Park. And we're reaching out to you this evening and your other fellow neighbors to receive your feedback. This is really a listening session. We're going to share with you some information, but our goal is also to hear your feedback and for you to provide concerns that you may have, goals that you may have as far as additional access or lack thereof, so that we can incorporate your voices and your impact can be represented within the overall master plan for the town. And then this evening will also be available for questions. Here in the council chambers, we've got a sign-in sheet for those that are on Zoom. At the end of the Zoom link, we will have a brief survey that will allow you to give us your email as well. And then we can capture this information as future meetings and planning opportunities come up, so you can be involved and stay in touch. Next slide, Dana. So just a little bit about our planning team. My name is Olivia Lehman, and I am the Parks and Facilities Manager for the town of Windsor. I'm joined with our consultant team from Gates and Associates. They're our landscape architects. They will be drafting up our master plan, helping us with the environmental documents, also providing the town with phasing, project phasing, and funding alternatives. And so by the end of this process, we will have a comprehensive plan with a phasing plan to follow and some funding alternatives and opportunities for the town to actually implement the plan. And so this evening I'm joined in the council chambers with Casey Case, and virtually we have Dana Falk, who is managing our slide deck and our on Zoom participants. And so we collectively will be working together for probably the next year to complete this project. Next slide. So really what we're all here about is looking about the opportunities here and the parcels that the town recently acquired, which back up to your neighborhoods. As you can see on the map, there are three properties, the top one being at the end of Wall Street, which the town purchased earlier this year. And then we have the two middle properties at the end of Ginny and Duncan. And then I do just want to call out, there are two properties at the lower portion with black little asterisks, which are either already acquired or in the process of being acquired by the school district. And so those will eventually both have new owners as well. And the school district and the town of Windsor are working collaboratively with this process. And there may be a design that comes forward in the future that has some sort of joint project or joint opportunity to combine the three parcels in red, as well as the two smaller parcels at the bottom, and combine all of those parcels into a joint project. And so really this evening, as you can see, we really wanted to focus on these neighbors directly impacted along these streets to talk about this plan from your perspective. And so that's the intention of this evening. Next slide. A little bit more about how we got here. The original master plan for Keiser Park, as you can see on the slide, was developed and approved by the town council in 2008. And it included a three-phase project as well. It was phased back in 2008. Phase one was built out and completed in 2011 and included the three newer ball fields at the north part of the park, the playground, the basketball courts, and the trail connections throughout the park. Phase two and phase three were always intended to be a later phase and had a much higher price tag to it, and was the original intention that it would include the pool that we've all heard about for years and years. The town of Windsor needs to build a pool in Keiser Park, as well as the recreation center, community center building with additional parking and a connection to Jaguar Way, which is the road that the school district currently uses for the stadium. And so the challenge has always been funding to build out this project, but there has also really, we have talked about expanding the park to include the vacant lots that are adjacent, but the town has never been in a position prior to this to acquire those, both from the private property owner and the funding mechanism. And so next slide, please. The expansion of Keiser Park is called out in both the town's general plan as well as the Parks and Rec master plan. The general plan is a 20-year planning document that directs and dictates town staff and town council on future projects townwide, not just in the Parks and Recreation department. And it really has a key theme of community health and well-being. And the Keiser Park Master Plan and the expansion project falls right in line with this. Increasing our community facilities, making the town more walkable, and allowing for a really connected trail system is important to the town council. And this project will help increase that ability. Next slide. In addition to the general plan, the town has a Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which is a similar document. It's a long-range guiding document. And there are a variety of goals and measurable outcomes that are within that plan that have led to us coming forward with this project. Next slide. And so with that, I am going to turn this over to Casey, who is with Gates and Associates and has really been helping the town to capture this information and provide some direction as we move forward.
Thank you. All right, hi. So also for the northern star of this project, we worked a lot with the town to establish what is the purpose and intent of what we're doing today. So we're creating a long-term master plan with a project vision that's community derived, part of why you guys are here, and implementable. It was important to us to right size this design for the community, align it with potential funding opportunities as well. And some of the guiding principles that we mentioned previously are keeping in passive and active recreation opportunities and options for health and wellness. Slide, please. So this project has been underway for a little while. We had a bit of a blip in 2020, as I think the rest of the world did as well. But we've been out and about talking about some of these ideas and soliciting input from the community for a little while. You might have seen us at some farmers market events. You might have seen some things online. If you haven't, please feel free to visit our website at keiserparkmasterplan.org. We try to keep it updated about any events we're having and post the latest information and concepts when those become available. But this evening, we are meeting with our local new neighbors, trying to have our conversation about insights to the park, ideas you guys may have about some of those improvements and access. Next slide, please. So this is the overall outreach process. So we try to have as many touch points as we can aligned with the milestones of the project as well. So it's important to us that throughout our process, we're bringing our expertise for park design and community benefits, but also making sure that it's really driven by the insights we're getting from the local community. So understanding how a park would best serve the town in the long run, as well as the future people who may live here. Next slide, please. So some of the outreach events we've been at, you may have seen our lovely signs everywhere. We try to keep our QR code available so people have convenient access to our project website, as well as the most up-to-date information. We were also at the farmers market. We collaborated with some of the local high school students as well to keep some familiar faces. You may have seen some of the survey boards. People could put dots on it. And we also had an online survey. And all of that effort led us to a lot of the milestones that we're looking at today that are help guide the development of our concept. So the themes that we reached with our community outreach were these 6 high-level elements: social and physical, connection with nature, play, a balance of passive and active recreation, clean and easy to maintain, safe, and as well all inclusive. So those were the high-level themes throughout all the conversations about what's working in Keiser Park, what do we want Keiser Park to look like in the future. These are our charge to consider as we develop the master plan. Next slide, thank you. So one of the questions we asked was, what do you like most about Keiser Park? And you can see some of the ranking of the feedback that we got. So people really loved the walking trails, the natural spaces such as the Oak Grove. They liked the playground. They liked the ability to attend these larger special events, and also the sports fields. So what we've done is we've begun to take this information and applied it to the site plan so we can start to think about how is this going to impact the design of Keiser Park. So this exhibit shows, based on some of that feedback of what everyone loves about Keiser Park, which areas do we want to protect, not disrupt. So we don't intend to do anything significant in the Oak Grove. We may add trails and picnic areas, and we don't intend to impact things that happened in phase 1. And the additional property that was acquired at the end of Wall Street and Spencer, there are some environmental components that drive a more passive space there. So it's not suitable for building a gymnasium, an aquatic center, or a playground. It needs to be a more passive use. One of the other themes we saw in our outreach, no, you got it, Dana, thank you, was to do these high-ranking new amenities. So in the master plan that was completed in 2008, it was a top priority to have aquatic centers and a community center, but we wanted to make sure that was still valid because it's been a little while, and it turns out it is. There is still a high priority for an aquatic center as well as a community center. So we tried to deep dive a little bit into what elements of those things would the community most like to see, which is where we got some of the feedback on instructional pools or gymnasiums, teen centers. And also we did see some amenities they'd like to see outside of those, which included, as I mentioned, multi-use paths, picnic areas, turf play areas, potentially a destination playground, community garden as well. So once again, we have another slide showing how we're applying this information to the site plan. So being as we have certain areas that we want to maintain and protect because they're a high priority to the community, it left over these spaces that are suitable for some of that development. So these areas highlighted in yellow are where we can consider doing some of those amenities the community would like to see, which may be the community center, the aquatic center, and those other improvements mentioned.
Slide, please.
Technical aligning of things. Got it. It's not letting us move on. Well, one thing that I can point out while we're on that slide is it makes it obvious why we want to have a conversation with you guys, because it is highlighting an area adjacent to the neighborhood you guys are within. Sorry, yes, next slide. All right, so then other summary results, things that came up high, which we've mentioned previously, was just making sure that there's a mix of these components. We're keeping them accessible physically and available to all groups within the town. We want to have things that are easy to maintain, safe, and that involves lighting and accessibility as well. So some other exhibits that I think are helpful for our conversation before we open it up to discussion. Right now, this is how people have access to the park, and we're showing vehicular in red, bicycle in green, and then points of access in blue, assuming that pedestrians, are able to use those as well. There are smaller pathways within the park that we've indicated without a color. We're just assuming there's movement throughout the space. So we're showing that there are opportunities to add new access points. And we are aware that at this point, the one access point is a little limiting. So we'd like to have other ideas.
How do I vote against Wall Street access?
I hear you. I hear you.
Because it's been so nice the last 2 months. I got no dust in my house for the first time in 39 years. No dust at all.
No dust. No
You have
dust.
5 people come down the street and turn around a day instead of 100.
Yeah, I think this is great feedback. I don't want to cut you off, but I think it may help for those on Zoom to hear you better if I hand you the microphone. I think I have like one more thing to go through, and that is about access points. So as you're saying, Wall Street is where you're saying you wouldn't want to
No,
see
I'm
it.
the last house on the street on Wall Street. I got my front door goes right straight to the back entrance of the park. I go for a walk almost every day, through there, through the trails and back. And I love nothing more than no access on Wall Street.
All right, you hear that. So there are other points as well. So at the end of Duncan, Ginny, and also through Jaguar Way. Next slide, please. I think we're ready for our discussion, so I wanted to get us here. So we have heard that the idea of access from Wall Street is not ideal. I also want to hear from the rest of you guys. What are your thoughts or questions? And I'm going to hand you the microphone just so that those on Zoom can virtually hear you as well, if you don't mind.
I'm curious as to the space. Finley is a wonderful center for Santa Rosa. I don't know how this space compares to that. The idea of having multi-purpose building. I'd love to be able to walk down the street and go to the swimming pool. I'm just curious about comparison. Also, I think perhaps the width of the surrounding streets should be looked at, because some of the streets are narrow streets and you increase the traffic. Obviously, you got more opportunities for accidents and congestion, whether it is now a dead end street or whatever, and I am on Wall Street. So of course it's not all about me. I want it to be useful for the community. And I am wondering about Jaguar Way, because right now it's for us, it's difficult getting out and being able to access the roundabout because our street is so close to the roundabout. Again, we talked about that earlier. It's not about the roundabout, but I think there needs to be the bigger picture of access for the neighbors, not just in and out of the park, but for the neighborhood. And Jaguar Way was supposed to have been continued on down through to Star. which would help the flow of traffic from Ginny, Duncan, Wall. I don't know whether they are continuing with that plan because a number of things in Windsor were planned to be a certain way, and then minds were changed and decisions were changed and they weren't followed through with. So I'm just curious.
Mhm. I think you brought up a lot of good points. I think that when we evaluate the access from the different streets, we do want to pay attention to the road widths and the impact that would have on the neighborhoods. Keep in mind, this is also a master plan, right? So we would be designing for the ultimate option of what's the most suitable and feasible. So that is one of the things we definitely consider. Jaguar Way was studied to have a connection all the way through, and it was not approved, as far as I know, by City Council. They did not want to see vehicular access connecting all the way through. But I don't know if it is still a barrier for us to get access to the park. So that's something we do want to consider in our master plan efforts and thinking about how we can collaborate with the school district to make it potentially useful for both properties. So it's not something we're ruling out. We also don't want to put all our eggs in that basket, but it is helpful to hear those insights as well. Does that answer your questions? Okay. Do anyone else?
I have to say that I really am in favor of having foot access into the park off of Wall Street. And the reason for that is that we have a surrounding neighborhood with lower income families living, and that provides an excellent way for them to get to the park in a safe manner. They don't have to go up towards the roundabout. They don't have to go down Windsor River Road. They have safe access into the park from Wall Street. I think Duncan and Ginny or Guinea, they kind of dead end into the property. Wall Street already has foot access into it, and it doesn't look like that's going to change as far unless they close it off. But I really feel that we should have that access into the park through Wall Street.
Pedestrian.
And if they, and I know he's concerned about the dust and all that, they should develop the street so that it's not dirty down there, that it's clean, and that it dead ends into a safe, clean space. And if it's not blowing dust, then it shouldn't bother him. And I'm concerned about his issue too.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Do you guys want to add additional comments?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Okay, so I live on Guinea, and I just want to say that I think like everybody else in the surrounding neighborhoods wouldn't want to have access on their street into the park just because of the traffic that it's going to cause coming in that street. I don't really know like where everybody can come to an agreement, because I'm pretty sure everybody that lives on all those streets mentioned wouldn't want there to be access through their street. So yeah, I wouldn't want there to be access through Guinea just for that reason. I wouldn't want to see a bunch of cars coming in and out of our street, just because right now it's like a really quiet and peaceful street. And then I think once, if that were to happen, you know, like that would bring in a lot of people coming in and out. And, you know, we don't have the walking access like they do. So we don't even have people walking through, but, you know, that's something that I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one that would agree with what I'm saying. We just, you know.
What do you think about walking access?
I think it could be considered. I think it would help too if there were other people that, you know, because it's just us here. So I don't know if, I feel like a lot of people aren't aware that those are access points, potential ones. And I only know because I have been on the website and I've seen that those could be access points. And that's why I'm here, because that was a concern for me. And I think that the other people that live around there should be aware of it too. And I feel like that's why they're not here, because they don't know that. And I think once they do, maybe then, you know, we could have more opinions and potentially talk about walking access, because I think it could be considered, but you know, it's just me from that street. So, you know, I can't really speak for everybody else.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I think that brings up a good point too. We had hoped to get as many people in that neighborhood as possible. And one of the things that we would love to ask of you guys is to go back and spread the word. Our plan right now is we're recording this meeting and we'll make it available on the website. So if somebody wasn't able to be here because they didn't know or had a conflict, that they can go back and see all the information and hear what we discussed. And then they can also still go to the website at keiserparkmasterplan.org, and there's the contact option, and still send in thoughts and comments, because we do, I mean, this is never, you know, speak now or forever hold your peace. That's the beauty of this. Like, we're really trying to hear the whole conversation. And I think understanding people's concerns and challenges while we're developing the site plan is really helpful. Because when we start coming up with alternatives and options and taking things to Parks and Recreation, they can be there communicating opinions as well. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but we also will be developing concepts, making those available. So there will also be an opportunity to weigh in on those, right? So if there's a concept that's creating more of what you perceive as a conflict for your neighborhood, you can express an opinion on that as well. Because we want to try to be conscious of coming up with different ideas, but I do think there are pros and cons to everything we'll pitch, right? So did you want to add something else, or you just no dust on Wall Street?
I think you
Okay.
had better turn out here tonight if you had directions of where to go.
Okay, good
Because
to know.
I would drive around for 10 minutes and finally had to ask a cop
Okay,
where it was, and he said, there's no secret here. I said, no secret. I said, where's the meeting for the park?
Yeah.
Oh, he's right over there. And I drive, and I saw somebody through the window here, legs, and I said, oh, check this out.
okay, good. Thank you. That's helpful to know. So
Yeah,
next
because
time
I
we can try
wasn't
to-
gonna come, and then no big, then I got in. I better go down there and at least show my face and make sure
Sure.
there's nobody coming down this road every day driving. Walking's fine,
Sure.
great access to walk back into the park right there.
Mhm.
Everybody can come walk up and down the, get into the park. I do it every day,
Sure.
but no cars.
Okay.
Don't need no cars, don't walk.
Okay. Also, at this point, I want to ask Dana or Denise if we have anyone on Zoom that we want to promote to panelists and let them weigh in. And maybe while we're sorting that, you have one more bit to add.
Yeah, just one more quick comment addressing his concern about the cars down there. The end of the street, the end of Wall Street is going to be part of the park development. I mean, it just ends right there. And most streets, which are dead end, have a turnaround, have an area for turnaround. Part of the park could be part of that paved turnaround, so there's no dust to bother him, and it's safe for cars to go down, turn around, and pull back out, with additional signage saying that the street is a dead end street.
Sure.
No park access, you know, or no
No vehicular
automobile
park.
park access. Yeah.
Mhm. You guys find, I mean, I guess as the property is now, people don't often park in that neighborhood to get to the park because there was a private property in between.
Yeah, people usually let people come down there and park, go watch the fireworks report is on.
Okay.
And charge them $5 a car.
Okay, so 4th of July.
Yeah. 3rd of July, excuse me.
Okay, I want to check, do we have anyone on Zoom who wants to add a comment? Oh, could you guys on Zoom raise your hand if you'd like to add a comment virtually? Because at that point we can elevate you guys to unmute.
I don't have any hands at this point. If one does come up, I'll make sure I introduce myself again and let you know. But at this point, nope, we're just watching on virtually here.
Okay, thanks, Dana. So did you want to add something as well?
Yes. I'm just trying to visualize other park spaces. Healdsburg has their high school next to the public swim center, and I think it's a great use of space. This is a great idea to combine in Novato Elementary School, backs up right to a park. Our daughter and her family live on a dead end street that backs and it stops at the elementary school, and traffic is discouraged from coming down there, even to pick up kids or drop kids off. It seems to me that when you think about a park area that's used for many uses that have multiple buildings, especially if it's going to be used, which would be natural, to be used as a safe place in case of natural disaster, that there would be access. When you think about it, the access is generally main streets, not densely packed, short residential streets. And I think that needs to be considered. The obvious one would be Jaguar Way, because you're not upsetting residential, you don't have a lot of traffic. Then you've got Windsor River Road, but it's a wider road. It's obviously the main road. And Jaguar Way, maybe they need to look at that again about carrying that through, even though, yes, Star Road does have residential, but not as dense, not as densely packed as any of these other surrounding streets. I just think it should be looked at.
Yeah. Else occurring to you guys as we're chatting?
I think I have one more thing to ask. So I just wanted to ask if everybody that lives in the neighborhoods kind of disagrees to not have access through their street, how will you guys come up with a solution to that? You know, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't want access on their street. So how would you guys come up with access, or like find out what is the best way for that?
Yeah, well, I think part of our effort when we develop the concepts is going to be weighing pros and cons of different alternatives. So far, we've begun chewing a little bit on some of the layout of the potential spaces. And in this moment, it's not our preference to program that edge as heavily because it's not an ideal access point. However, we may still show a concept that demonstrates that so that we can have a conversation about it, so that people can come forward and express, we hate it, or who knows, there could be somebody who's like, I love it because it puts a awesome recreation center right next to my home. So it then allows us the opportunity to discuss it and understand, you know, does it actually feel like it's adding a benefit to the community? And if so, then we would support it. If it's something that really feels like it's deterring from that local community, then it's not something we would want to do either. It's not in anybody's interest to upset the nearest neighbors, and we want to remain mindful of that. I would think the only scenario where that would push forward is if there was some kind of significant constraint that allowed it to only happen there. And in this moment, that's not the case. So sure. I mean, I think it's important that there is additional access, but I think it's helpful for us to discuss these things and study all the alternatives, which is why we may present and are likely to present an alternative that shows programming on the edge closest to your homes. And I would love for you guys to show up and just say, this is not our preferred, so that it can be discarded, right? Because it is an option that we want to discuss. So I think communicating with your neighbors that this is something we're looking at is important. And we're not doing it just to rile people up. We're doing it because we want to show that it's like we're evaluating all the options and we want to hear insights on what those might be. That, yeah, okay,
No,
cool.
And in future meetings you have, you'll let me know the same way you did this time?
What's that?
You'll let me know by mail? Any meeting now? I never check my email.
We've utilized a bunch of different methods to let people know the events are happening. So we do have the QR code on the sign, on the banner closest to the park, which takes you to our website that has all the upcoming events. In addition to that, we will try to send emails, which you don't check. I'm trying to decide, Olivia, do you know if we'll do direct mailers in the future? Because this was a poignant effort to talk to you guys. In the future, it's going to be a larger conversation, so not just this handful of us. So getting a direct mailer will be a little trickier because we're not planning on canvassing the whole town.
What about notification at the park, just to signage up that we're going to have a meeting?
We
because
do
they'll
that,
walk right
yes.
past it every day.
So there can be signage at the park.
Say it at the park.
Like we've in the past put up a little A-frame saying, you know, meeting and the date and time. That'll help.
Okay.
You're not sold, but it's
I have to go for a walk
better.
in there, yeah.
That's good for you.
Yeah, it is.
Dana, is there anyone who's popped up online discussion?
There is not.
Awesome, okay. And I don't want to end things early. You guys can keep telling us ideas and thoughts and, or Olivia, do you want to weigh in on anything?
No, I think, and maybe Dana, now's a good time to go to the next slide. So, I think just to give you a little idea of our next steps and where we're headed, and this will also lead to the communication. So our next time that we are going to take this in a public meeting is on December 7th to the town council. And we are going to share with them all of the summary information of all of the outreach that Casey had mentioned, the survey that we did and the pop-up events, this meeting tonight, this feedback, and we are going to show them the very first high-level first round of concepts of how potentially this plan could lay out. And so that would be a great opportunity to come and voice, give feedback to the town council directly. It will be in this room on December 7th at 6 p.m. We also will email everyone on the list that we're capturing this evening. We probably will not do mailers for each meeting that we do, but any large meetings where we've got really large opportunities, we can also try to update the banners. So we have banners at the end of each street that are on all of the properties that we've purchased. We can try to get some A-frames up, but I can't promise that we will get them out and up every meeting that we go forward. But we will use this email as contact as well. We are going to be doing some other community events in early next year, January and February, where community can continue to give us feedback on the designs as we refine them. And again, we're continuing to listen. So we're going to put alternatives out there. They may be very different. Some of them may be preferential to others. And the feedback that we receive helps us hone in on the design that seems like it serves the most amount of people, including the neighbors, for this plan. And so great opportunities to stay involved. The website is there. It's on the banners. You can check it anytime you want to see. We will continue to keep it updated. We will now use emails and continue to capture them. So for those of you who are listening on a recorded broadcast, we encourage you to use the contact me link on the website, and we will continue to add emails to our list, and that we can communicate anytime we've got a public meeting or outreach opportunity so that we can really continue to listen. And that's really the intention of this. And we need your feedback to help make sure that we're making the best park for our community and really making sure that we are addressing all of the concerns. So those are the next steps. We're really grateful that you're here this evening. We'll stick around if you've got more feedback or thoughts or ideas. We'll continue to capture it, and we hope that we'll see you soon. Yes.
December 7th, you said?
December 7th. It's a Wednesday night, 6 p.m. in this room.
6 p.m.
That will be a large town council meeting. So Casey and I will be making another presentation. It will be very similar to what you saw this evening. And then we'll have some high level concepts as well. Potential layout. Oh, wow.
Like Halloween.
All right.
Melting.
And we're done. Exit scene.
Thank you guys so much. It's really
Thank
helpful.
you.
Appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time.
We were a tiny but mighty group, but hopefully.
You have a challenge because it's different when you start out with the big blank space.
Mhm.
You're cobbling together parcels to make it work.
Yeah.
I I'm trying to visualize where would there be space to have a gymnasium and a multi-purpose.
We'll show you.
And, right.
On
right,
December
yeah,
7th.
yeah. Perfect,
Yeah.
okay.
And, you know, I think on the planning side of things and your concerns about these small residential streets, the town, we can't even get a plan through planning commission and all of that if we can't prove that it meets certain traffic and circulation requirements. So we understand that a small residential street is very limited. You're limited by space. You have parking needs. You have, there is a condition, you know, there's a condition of the streets that needs to be taken into account. So we're considering all of those things as we work through this plan, and knowing that if we were to create a thoroughfare that's intended to bypass the roundabout, then we need to have a street that can serve that level of traffic capacity. So we're thinking about all of those things as we're developing this plan and looking for what roads provide that level of connection. Or is it just a road with a gate that gets locked in? You know, is it something that is just park only access, or is it trails? Are we looking at a large multi-use trail? Are we looking at a small walking path that, you know, so we're looking at all of these things. How do we provide safe school connections? Do we have adequate sidewalks? Do we have sidewalk space that meets ADA? So when we go through a plan like this, we're considering all of those current and future as part of that. Yeah.
Do you have lights?
Do you have lights? Is it safe for pedestrians? Yes. All of those things will be factored in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, we appreciate it.
Do you want Public Works contact to provide feedback on the roundabout?
That would be great.
Okay, I will email you tomorrow. I will send you an email with the direct contacts.
Actually, a friend of mine did send a letter to